Hi, and welcome to this program. I am so excited to get started on this process because when I really started practicing these two techniques in combination, and I knew none of them before. I have been playing legato for like a couple of decades, but this kind of legato is something very special, and in a second I'll explain to you why it is completely different. But when I started practicing these, I was like curious, what can this do for me? What is this really? And I was just struggling, beginner again, like doing hybrid picking and doing legato in a completely different way. So I felt like I just started playing guitar. But, I kept at it and I started seeing these little changes in how I actually started, holding the neck, even touching the strings. It was just completely different. And it required me to practice in a completely different way with a completely different focus. But the results you get are so vastly different from anything else that you've experienced if you never practiced this. And simply because you go from something that seems very crude, actually, right? Alternate picking, sweep picking, normal legato seems like brute force compared to this delicate technique that is called modern legato or advanced legato. So once you start practicing this technique, after a couple of weeks, you'll start feeling differently when you touch the neck. It will be a totally different experience because this technique is a totally different experience and it does something quite magical. And we have a tool over here that can actually supply the big leaps from string to string, can do string skipping, can do arpeggios, can do all these kinds of things. And we have this, which is very tight intervals, small intervals, wide intervals. Then suddenly we have a technique that is just blows your mind, that just, suddenly it takes over everything. It makes alternate picking like, Jesus Christ, that's, really, it becomes such a forceful thing, which is cool if that's what you want, right? It's a different game now when legato suddenly becomes number one and alternate picking and sweep picking becomes number 2 or 3 or 4. Before it was like legato, it's a cool thing, it's easier to play fast with legato, but it's kind of not the real thing, right? You want to do everything with alternate picking if you can, because that's the best, right? But when legato becomes king, then suddenly everything changes and your whole feeling of the guitar neck and what you do becomes much more delicate. And it really is so satisfying.